Next part of our session today is 3 presentations by master students here at Aalborg University in 3 different programs, as I told you in the beginning. And we'll start out with Bissan, Zamzam and Mette Frederiksen, both from the Urban Planning and Management program. And Bissan and Mette are collaborating with various stakeholders in the region of northern Denmark in their project on Waters Without Borders, addressing the Limfjord and climate change issues surrounding that. Bissan and Mette, the floor is yours. You have about 20 minutes.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone and welcome to our presentations. We just want to start by thanking David for his presentation. It's a tough act to follow. We haven't really been taught by Al Gore, but we'll do our best. We would like to, as Martin said, present our master thesis project, Waters Without Borders, the regionalization of climate change adaptation planning. We are only halfway through the project period, so what we wish to present for you today is just our initial thoughts and preliminary findings of the project. Here we go. I'll just start with a brief overview of what we'd like to talk to you about today. We're going to start off with our backgrounds and what we've been working with previously concerning climate change adaptation. And then we'll move on to explaining the background and the aim of our thesis. So what we wanted to achieve when we initially started. And after this, we'll present our research subject before moving on to the methods we're currently using to gain knowledge. And moving on from this, we'll shortly present the findings that we've found so far. And finally, some subjects that we think could be interesting to examine in the future. Yes, my name is Mette Frederiksen. I have a bachelor from Aalborg University in urban environmental and energy planning. Then I went to Scotland for a year, where I did a master in spatial planning with sustainable urban design at the University of Dundee. And then I returned to Aalborg and did another master's that I'm currently doing now in urban planning and management. I worked with climate change adaptation the previous semester, where I did an internship in a municipality in Denmark. And I helped them sort of in their initial phase of writing their climate change adaptation strategy. And in relation to this, I also wrote an article about the ethics behind evaluating different geographical areas and prioritizing which areas should be adapted first.
My name is Bissan Zamzam, and I have a bachelor in structural and civil engineering at Aalborg University, but in Esbjerg. Currently, I'm doing my master's in urban planning and management. I've worked with climate change adaptation since the first semester, and I've had the first semester we focused on barriers to implementing sustainable urban drainage systems in dense cities, and then on the second semester I worked collaboration in climate change adaptation planning in the absence of legal and regulatory powers. And on my third semester, I did an internship at the Danish Center of Environmental Assessment, and there I looked at the NGOs driving climate change adaptation planning on a local level in a social stigmatized area.
Yes, and now I'll just like to tell you a little bit about the context in which our research is taking place and our motivation to work with our topic. Now, after being on the way since the spring of 2012, a new law was passed in January 2013, making it mandatory for all Danish municipalities to prepare a climate change adaptation strategy and an action plan. By the end of 2013, as part of their municipal plans or as a supplement to these. So this mandatory climate change adaptation planning is therefore a very new thing in Danish planning context, and it's something that a lot of municipalities are not used to working with, leading to a need of guidance on how to plan for climate change. And overall, we wanted to examine how they're coping with this new task, and we wanted to create a product which potentially could help the municipalities in their future work. We had both of us in our previous work come across several more specific issues which potentially could be a research topic, and we chose one of these as our research subject. Our research takes a point of departure in quite a simple issue. It is that streams and rivers run across municipal and administrative borders, and if climate change affect these streams and rivers, how is climate change adaptation planning of this issue then handled when the local authorities are only concentrating on their own area and making individual climate change adaptation plans? If we can imagine if one municipality takes some sort of action in their own place for a stream, this may affect the stream further down in another municipality, either positively or negatively. So we wanted to examine if there was a need for coordinating actions and plans, and to which degree this could be done, and how these actions could be coordinated. If it should be through networks steered or organized by the region, if it should be through self-established networks, or if it should simply be taken care of as the problem occurs. And finally, we wanted to examine what could encourage or act as barriers to coordination. And these initial thoughts has led to our research questions, which you can see here. With the research question, we are also defining the area we've chosen to look at for our research, which is the northern region of Denmark, mostly centered around the Limfjord, which is just running over here and kind of cuts through Denmark. So, in order to examine the research subject, we want to use network and institutional theories as they can supplement each other's in giving us an understanding of how collaboration between municipalities could be established and organized. Furthermore, we want to undertake a state-of-the-art review of climate change adaptation and climate change adaptation planning based on relevant academic journals and on findings we made when we went to Hamburg last month for the European Climate Change Adaptation Conference. And our empirical studies will be based on semi-structured interviews with several local authorities, as well as sewer utility companies, as they also play a major role in the climate change adaptation planning process. We just undertook our last interview on Wednesday, and as the map clearly illustrates all the green municipalities, we've been able to interview 7 out of 11 municipalities in the northern region, and furthermore we've spoken to a representative from the regional authority, as well as what their role is now and potentially could be in the future. And now Bissan is going to talk about what we found out so far.
Yeah. So, as Mette told, the last interview was Wednesday, and which means that the results we present now is our initial findings. We have to look further into them and organize them. But what we found out, the way we structured these interviews was so we could form, in the end, 3 questions. And I will start with talking about these questions and what the idea behind ask why we ask the municipalities these questions. And then we also, during the interviews the past month, found out that there was some other interesting issues that could be addressed in further research. So this will be what I will present today, and of course also the findings. If we look at the first question, how far are the municipalities in the climate change adaptation planning? What initiated the process, and which scenarios are they using? The reason that we ask this question is because we want to be able to compare the participating municipalities by looking into how far they are in the climate change adaptation planning. And we also want to know what initiated the process, and if it was initiated before the new law in 2013, January 2013, or it was before or after, and what the motivation was. And lastly, we also want to know what kind of scenarios they are using, because there's no law, and there's no rules about what kind of scenarios Danish municipalities should use. There's only a recommendation. And our assumption is that it could affect the whole, like the overall picture of these adaptation measures. For example, if one municipality uses one scenario and the other one uses a different kind of scenario, then this would be might affect the way they handle like streams, like the solutions that they present in the end. And the second question, to what extent do the municipalities collaborate in climate change adaptation networks with other municipalities or the sewer utilities when undertaking the climate change adaptation planning? The reason that we ask this question is because we want to know if the municipalities already, when they undertake the climate change adaptation plans, are considering a possible joint effort in networks to address the common issues. Because they most likely will face same problems. And if they do, we want to know how these networks functions, and we want the main and what the main purpose is. And if they don't, then we want to know if the municipalities have a culture in collaborating in networks with other municipalities, and what the aim of these networks are. The last question is also related to the second question. We want to know if they don't have this collaboration in networks, what is hindering them in doing so. And if we think about like the first question, some of the things that we already found out is that relating to how far they are in the planning, we found out that 6 out of 7 municipalities are still in the developing phase, and only 1 municipality is implementing their plans. And in relation to what the motivation to this, to undertaking the plans was, again, like 6 out of 7 municipalities are doing this because of the law, and only 1 because of an attempt to solve existing issues. And in relation to the last question, again, 6 out of 7 municipalities are still considering what scenario to use, and 1 has used the recommended A1B scenario from the central government. And you can see the numbers relate. It shows when we were talking to these municipalities, the 6 of them who are still in the developing phase, they really didn't know how to do this, and they were still looking for knowledge, and they were still trying to figure out how to use the tools that the central government has presented. And when we looked into if there is any existing networks up, like with the main subject as climate change adaptation, we found out that according to the municipalities, they were not participating in any networks. But the initial findings showed that there is a culture for formal as well as informal knowledge sharing in networks, such as the water plans that the municipalities have to do by law. And then these are done in northern Jutland and also some of the middle region. There's a Limfjord council where they share knowledge in, and they also mentioned the ARFA networks, which is mostly knowledge and experience sharing. And then there's a mention of the KKR, which is on a major level. And there's also these networks. When we looked into why weren't any networks or what could hinder the participation in these networks, we found out that a lot of them talked about lack of resources, as in time and subsidies, because they didn't really know how to. First of all, it's one planner mostly in most of the municipalities who has to do this, and this planner also has other projects that they need to deal with at the same time. And they didn't feel there was a sufficient knowledge in how to put the central government's tools into use in order to create these plans. So a lot of the municipalities who were still under development were waiting for a guidance in how to do on how to prioritize these climate change adaptation plans. And we also had some of the municipalities saying that there's a lack of uniformity in the plans. Some of them actually said it would be nice to just have a template where they had to fill it out, and then to be able to kind of share knowledge or compare the knowledge. It would be easier to do so if they could just go in and click into a neighboring municipalities' plan and see, okay, what are they planning to do about this stream, and then maybe that could initiate a potential synergy in these efforts. And there was also some of them who mentioned that these plans are not happening in a synchronized timeline, so it's really difficult to if you are still in the developing phase, to go and ask like municipalities in the implementation phase to collaborate because they are further ahead. So there was a lot of these. There's a lot more barriers to this, but these were the ones that were on the surface right now. And yeah. The last slide is there was also like some of the things that wasn't directly related to what we are doing, and some of these questions were said by planners. They were also inspired by researchers, and some of them even just talking, like extra knowledge, if you could say so. But one of the things is that one of the planners in the municipality said that it could be fun to go in and compare all the plans in the end and see how the municipalities are addressing the common issues. And this was in a way something that we wanted to do, but because that, as you saw before, there's only one municipality of the interviewed who actually are in the implementing phase. And a lot of them don't really know what they should value in these risk assessment mappings. So that could be something of interest to look into. And also we experienced in the smaller municipalities that the planners, that the planner who has like the task to do these plans, the way he sees climate change adaptation also affects what kind of initiatives will come. Like, to give an example, one of the municipalities in the project group they were sitting in, there was a technician from the sewer utility, and there was environmental work, and there was a planner, and they were sitting down and talking about, okay, we need to do this climate change adaptation plan, and then the guy from the water, from the sewer utility said, okay, we should just make the pipes bigger. And then this is, the relation between this planner and this technician was that the planner said, well, if he says that, then I trust him. That's what we are going to do. So it could also be interesting to look into that. In the bigger municipalities, which was actually just one of the municipalities, Aalborg municipality, it could be interesting to go in and see how the organization's sense-making of climate change adaptation, how that affects the climate change adaptation initiatives. Because in this case, a lot of, the interview pointed out that if the organization is not behind this, then you can't really go in and do something around climate change adaptation, and it won't be prioritized. And also the way that you, the way the solutions will also, if it is technical, if it is technical engineers working with this, then most likely you just make more water basins and bigger pipes. But if you have someone who's maybe more aware of this climate change adaptation, what is happening within the research, and try to combine this with other, synergize it with other authorities, then maybe they will have more innovative climate change adaptation plans in the end. And on the last question, or the last potential research, is to what extent the central government guidance initiatives regarding the climate change adaptation planning, if it has been sufficient enough to help the municipalities to prepare the first municipal climate change adaptation plan and strategies, and what kind of lessons could be learned, because we experienced a lot of them think, okay, we have so many documents and we need to do this, and we can't really find the money, and has it been good enough? Has the tools provided from the government been good enough? And then you can say, how can we improve these tools? Because these plans have to be reviewed every 4 years. And then maybe a lot of the municipalities also said that okay, we just need to do this plan now, and then we can review it later. We just need to do it before the end of this year. Yeah. Well, thank you for your attention, and if you have some questions, please ask. I know I was complaining a bit, but yeah.
It was a good presentation, and my question is, obviously there are issues here. Municipalities don't have the expertise. The expertise they have is very limited, so like if it's the sewer technician, all of the sewer technicians just thinking is a bigger pipe and not thinking about other issues. The national government hasn't provided templates, they haven't provided maybe proper funding, et cetera, et cetera. Is this not something for ClimaLab to get involved with actively, to be working actively with these 11 municipalities, where you can also draw on engineers from here, besides the whole climate issues and policy issues, and then you have students that work on it. I mean, because you've worked with one municipality, right? Right. Okay. I mean, isn't I mean, look, we're in the middle of a real problem here. Isn't this a good opportunity?
Actually, I also...
Sorry to put you on the spot.
But the reason that I said that in the municipalities thinking, or what they believe, there's no networks, but the data that I'm presenting is what they said in the interviews, and of course ClimaLab is focusing on this, and Martin.
That was the other half of my presentation this morning that I didn't show you.
Yeah.
That is in fact what the intention is. And inspired by what you said about Carlsberg, what we're trying to do is probably the best region in the world. That's just what we want. But time is money, and money is scarce, so it's uphill. It's always the first million is the most difficult to get, and after that it's ketchup. In fact, we're working on it.
Have you looked at which municipalities that looks to which municipalities? Like if we look at each other and what each other does, and you can map out who they are looking at.
We actually did that, but we didn't feel at this point that we could present it yet. But we asked each municipality, who are you working with? And it wasn't, we didn't ask them directly, like, if, yeah, we actually did, we asked them, who do you work with and what do you work about? And what we asked them about was the goals, and if they had knowledge sharing, and if they were like dividing efforts, or finding like synergies in investments. But it will be presented for you 16. Mette, you have that?
Speak up.
Yes, you've interviewed these 7 municipalities, and you had a short, you mentioned various barriers for them to get involved in this. But do you get a sense of how willing they are, apart from the obvious barriers? But is it something they think, yes, this is really important, and this is something we're can really look into, or is it just another bureaucratic thing that comes from Copenhagen? Do you get a sense of that?
About them working together?
No, just that they've been told now that they have to do these climate change adaptation plans. You know,
Yeah.
is it something they really want to do, apart from that there are these barriers, or is it just another thing they have to do?
I think for some of them it was quite a burden. I think it depends very much on how they perceive their area, if it's in risk or not. Some of them were like, we're not, pretty much all of them actually said that our problems over here is not that big as it is in Copenhagen. But yeah.
If you kind of if you look at the mitigation, like reducing CO2 and stuff like that, and look at Copenhagen and say, wow, they are really ahead and been doing that for so many years, and then we compare with one of the municipalities, which is in the northern part, who said, yeah, we are just finishing our mitigation plans just now, and then you can see how slowly it moves and how different it is from the big municipalities to the smaller ones. So they just accepted that this green energy should be a part of the plans, and now adaptation is coming in, and they don't have time, they don't have money, and they don't really know how to cope with it. So a lot of them were like, yeah, let's see, and some of them were like, yeah, we are human beings that have always adapted, but now we have to do a plan. And so yeah, we did get that, but this is more maybe a question about the role of the planner than it is about what we're doing. But yes, we did get some of that.
Thank you very much. There's plenty of time during the day to speak with both Bissan and Mette, of course, if there are further questions. We'll move on now. Thank you.